Greetings and salutations to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Cleo welcomes you to what I suppose I'll call a build concept video, or build in progress it could be as well. This is a bloody pox build, believe it or not. A skill that has not had the best rap or reputation since its inception, or since the inception of the game really. But there's a really cool way to play it now that I've been messing around with. If I can think of who posted it on the Grim Dawn forums, I will try to link it down below. But basically, someone spoke about the idea of using bloody pox in combination with this puppy over here, the Falcon. Because Falcon Swoop, 15% chance on attack, does a lot of bleeding damage. Basically, bloody pox also does a lot of bleeding damage once you get some points into it. And the way bloody pox works, of course, is that it spreads to multiple enemies, and does that, basically. As it spreads to more enemies and as it ticks on more enemies, there's more chance of bloody pox to trigger and cast lots of Falcon Swoops. So basically how this build works is you get Falcon Swoop, cast on an enemy, and then you kind of just chill as bloody pox triggers Falcon Swoops. As you can see, it's just flying off and you get a lot of them triggering, which is really, really, really cool. It's a very fun way to play, I'm finding. It's not without its problems. Because bloody pox in of itself is, you know, an AoE crowd control skill. And I'm having a hard time demonstrating this and not dying, actually. Because we're a bit squishy at the moment. But I am using Doombolt at the moment to try and offset the lack of single target damage that we have right now. But as you can see, and you know, Falcon Swoop is pretty nice single target damage, but you have to rely on it triggering, even though it triggers pretty often. So as you can see there, it triggered on cast, and you just kind of kick around and wait for good things to happen. Now my good buddy Ninetrix also mentioned that this works pretty well with Grasping Vines, if not better, and I'll demonstrate that as well. So if I can find some more dudes to kill, I don't want to go and fight Shanks just yet. But let's see. Hello! There we go. So if I drop that down, so anyone who stands in Grasping Vines can cop it, basically. And Grasping Vines you can cast more often. So if you do that, keep people in Grasping Vines, and then also cast bloody pox, then you're in pretty good shape. And then of course I'm debuffing with Curse of Frailty. I should show the build in a bit more detail actually, and my apologies. So there we go, boom, bada boom, died all on his own. Can I cast over there, man? Can I cast it? Well, if I get that guy, will it spread? Come on. Nah, no dice. There you go, there's a good few that are triggering. So bang, bang, hit him with bloody pox, coast around, debuff him some more, Grasping Vines, bloody pox, and then boom, bada boom. It's pretty sweet. All right, while we've got a reprieve, we'll jump into the skills. So, for God's sake, that reprieve. Grasping Vines is actually really good because it's so spammy, and it also does bleeding damage, so it syncs up with the build really well. Now, the catch I'm going for with this build, and my good buddy Ninetrix, who I should link to his Twitch channel below, he's a Grim Dawn frickin' encyclopedia. He told me about how well Grasping Vines works in terms of a triggering skill for stuff like Falcon Swoop. And he also pointed out there's another skill called Rend, which comes from the Huntress constellation, which has a lot of bleeding damage, which is really cool, 60% bleeding damage there, more there, flat and percentage bleeding damage, but the kicker is Rend, 20% chance on attack, 5-second duration, 2-meter radius, does a lot of bleeding damage, minus offensive ability and minus bleeding resistance. So it's another bleeding triggered skill. So what I'm aiming for here, once I have enough devotion points, is to have both bloody pox and Grasping Vines have triggered bleeding skills. So not only will they be doing native bleeding damage, I suppose, from the base skill of itself, but they will also be doing triggered events. So basically, I'm hoping to have spammy devotion skills going off basically all the time and having massive amounts of crowd control. And actually, you know, relatively decent single target damage as well. I mean, I took out the Warden without too much fuss with this character, funnily enough. It was a bit arduous, I suppose. It took longer than you would like it to, but yeah, that's why I've got Doombolt in there for, to help with that single target damage. But it's also reasonably safe. I haven't got the best gear just yet, but you can kind of just sit back and let things happen. You know, you stay out of the way of damage, and things just sort of die, which is really a cool way to go about doing things. I'm gonna see if I can pick these guys off. Now I'm undecided on whether I like Grasping Vines or Bloody Pox better. I get why Grasping Vines is awesome because it's very spammy, the cooldown is negligible, and it does seem to trigger more often than Bloody Pox when it comes to triggering a skill. But the kicker is that you've got to have people standing in the Grasping Vines. Whereas Bloody Pox has the tendency to follow a group, I suppose you would say. So, you know, you cast it in amongst a bunch of dudes and they'll keep getting hit by it, which is really tasty and delicious. So it just kind of keeps spreading out, so you've got a chance to hit more people, and it just keeps folding outwards like that. So yeah, outwards through a group is what I'm trying to say. So that's the kicker with that one. And that's why I kind of want to do both in the end, because they're both pretty cool in their own right. So having both of them trigger events, or trigger devotion skills, it's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to getting those extra bits of devotion deliciousness. So there we go. See, he died pretty quick. I mean, he's someone we had to do single target damage on. And he got pretty nuked. He hit us pretty hard, but that's because we're just squishy noobs. But there you go. Was no real harm, no foul. And all the ads, where are they at, you know? We smashed them good. So, I tend to go, you know, Curse of Frailty or Bloody Pox first if I remember, and then just spam everything else out. I keep up Bloody Pox to try and keep the spread real good, and Grasping Vines every time I remember, which should be more often than it is. I'm sure you guys could play this build better than I am. But it's a really cool concept that I wanted to share with you guys and sort of implore you to try out, because for me at least it's a different approach. I don't know if it is for you guys. If you've played around with this build and you've got any suggestions, let me know. Because I'd be happy to hear them, of course. But for me this is a really unique way to go about it, and I'll definitely be posting further updates as I progress with the build further. Because so far so good. Possibly the next time I come back to you, I will have enough devotion points to get Rend, which is still a fair few away, because it's a decent sized constellation, and I've got to get at least at the bat to get enough affinity to get to it, but it shouldn't take too long. We'll have it by like sort of late Act 2, I would estimate. I haven't figured it out properly. But there we go. I hopefully have demonstrated the build aptly enough. I think you guys get the general drift. But it's a really cool way to do it. Let's just wreck this guy. Look, Grasping Vines, debuff. Oh, he actually got out of the Grasping Vines, the chump. There we go. There was one. Boom, boom. So now we just kind of run around him. And he gets hit with a Falcon Swoop. And what I'm hoping to do in the long run as well is make us a bit more melee viable. So being able to stand in close distances. Because if you stand really close to someone, I'll try and demonstrate one. If you stand super up close, there we go. That guy got hit, I think, by two birds from Falcon Swoop. I'm just trying to wait for it to happen. Come on, baby. Come on, don't make a fool of me. Anyway, you get the idea, because Falcon Swoop kind of goes out like a shotgun shell, in that they're really close at first, and then they kind of spread outwards. So, if you're able to be really close to enemies when Falcon Swoop triggers, they might get hit by all two or all three of the Falcons, which just increases the amount of damage that they're going to cop from the Falcon Swoop, which, incidentally, has percentage weapon damage on it, up to 70%, I think, at max level, or something in that sort of ballpark, which is really nice. And did I mention as well from the Shaman Mastery? I haven't even talked about the skills yet, have I? But it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I'm putting as many points into Bloody Pox as I can, with Wasting and with Black Death. I haven't gone for the Augment Fevered Rage. 1 point in Doombolt for now. Focusing on Curse of Frailty's base skill, because that's where the minus bleeding resistance comes from. I'll probably put a few points in there eventually too. As for Shaman, I will put some points in Devouring Swarm. It doesn't do much damage, but it's got minus bleeding resistance, so we can stack the bleeding resistance, which will become really important in terms of undead enemies, specifically skeletons, of course, and the like, which will be resistant to bleeding damage. Grasping Vines I'm going to crank a bunch of points into, as well as Entangling Vines for the extra bleeding damage and other goodness. And that's really it in terms of relevancy to bleeding damage. I'll probably also get the McDrogan's Pact line for extra survivability, but that's not relevant to what we're trying to do. So, there's two main points here. Stack bleeding damage as much as you possibly can, and stack bleeding negative, or bleeding debuff as much as you can, because both are very important. And then the rest, as they say, is history. You just spam all your skills out, and you watch the Falcons fly. So yeah, it's probably personal preference. I think either works, either Falcon Swoop or Entangling Vines, but I'm going to go for both. Per que no los dos. as the little Mexican girl says in Old El Paso. Old El Paso, oh my god. That's gonna sound racist. What's the ads from, it's probably an Australian thing, man. It's a taco ad of some sort. And on that completely irrelevant note, I'm going to leave it here. I hope you guys give this build a swing for yourself, and I'm definitely going to update you with its progress in the future. So, on that ridiculous note, my name is Kluger. You guys have a great day, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Have a good one.